It's fair to say that in the UK we're going through somewhat of a steroid epidemic. As you'll have seen in the title of this video, currently there's 1 million people in the UK alone using steroids. And whilst I don't aim to bring this number down to zero, I'd at least like to highlight the realities of taking steroids and what it really looks like aside from what you see on Instagram. Now, everyone knows that steroids aren't good for you, but clearly lots of people don't care, 1 million people don't care. So I just want to highlight the actual real life trade-off that you're signing up to when you start taking steroids, and you know, beyond the roid rage and your balls shrinking, what the reality is going to be when you start taking these substances. So the main reason why you're not going to take steroids, and I'm sure you already know this already, is that they're not good for you. In fact, they're bad for you. And to what degree they're going to be bad for you is going to depend on how much you're taking, what you're taking, where you get it from, how you react individually, because everyone's different. But you know, whatever you take and however much you take of it, I can guarantee that it's going to be bad for you. So, you know, you're going to be rolling the dice in terms of any number of side effects, including, you know, just to name a few: heart enlargement, increased blood pressure, increased chance of heart attack, increased chance of stroke, baldness. You know, your testicles are going to get smaller. You might start to develop gynecomastia, which is essentially tits, acne, and you know, these are just ones off the head. But you know, there's all sorts of different side effects because you're introducing a hormone that your body doesn't need into your body, and you're just going to fuck everything up essentially. So, you know, some people are clearly okay with that risk. In fact, 1 million people in the UK are okay with that risk, but that is the risk. There's no substance you can take that's a steroid that is going to somehow get around that. Like, you know, that is a fundamental truth of taking steroids, is that you are putting yourself at risk to all these different diseases. So, you know, I'm going to touch on some other points in the video, but this should be the main reason that makes you think, maybe it's not worth it, because you're risking dying essentially. You know, like you might be able to take some testosterone, for example, and get no acne and show no visible signs of decreased health, but without a doubt, inside, something is going to go out of whack. And if you keep taking that over an extended period of time, you're probably going to die sooner. That's the reality of it. So if you think making your biceps a bit bigger is worth not being able to speak to your grandkids for 10 more years when you're older, then, I mean, I can't really relate with you. But me personally, I just want to be healthy when I go to the gym. So if I've got to trade off years of my life and quality of my life as well, in all likelihood, you're probably going to, you know, get some kind of roid rage, or, you know, not be able to get your dick hard, or whatever it is. You're probably going to have something that decreases the quality of your life and also decreases the length of your life. So, I mean, why do it? Why do it just to look a bit bigger when realistically you can achieve the same results probably over a longer period of time? I mean, I'm not going to say you can achieve the same results. Obviously, you're never going to look as big as some people that take steroids, but these people are happily trading away their life to look bigger. So if you want to make that decision, I mean, I'm not going to talk you out of it, but that is the decision you're making. You are choosing to decrease your lifespan to look bigger. Okay, so the second point I wanted to touch on is essentially that steroids are just not necessary. You don't need them, you know? You can continually look better than you did last year and better than most people on a beach by just going to the gym fairly regularly and keeping an eye on what you eat, you know? Consistency is the aim of the game, and if you just follow the fundamental principles of going to the gym, which, you know, it's not that hard. You can as long as you enjoy going to the gym and make it enjoyable, it's reasonable that you're going to be able to keep going at least 3 times a week. If you just do that, you're going to look better every year, and you're going to look like you work out, you're going to look healthy, and you're going to be healthy. That's the number one thing. You're not going to be taking steroids, so you don't need it. You're not a bodybuilder, you know, you're not competing on stage, so why take steroids? It doesn't make sense, you know? For your purposes, you know, the majority of the people watching this video just want to look better. That's the main goal, so you don't need to take steroids. The standard that's been set by other influencers and, you know, people on Instagram is just, it's unrealistic naturally. So it's fine to admire these physiques, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I wouldn't like to look like that, but I'm not willing to trade my life away for it. So, you know, I think the unrealistic standard that's been set is like, all of these people have gone to the dark side. All of these people have traded their health away to look like that. So you can admire and you can appreciate it and say, wow, I'd love to look like that, but you're not going to unless you increase your risk of, you know, heart failure. So, You don't need steroids. Now, if you got to this point in the video and you're still dead set on taking steroids, you still think it's a good idea, I just want to ask you, what's your plan? Are you going to do one cycle? Are you going to blast and cruise and stay on forever? Or are you going to continuously do cycles? What's the plan? Because, as you might have heard, it's never just one cycle, and there's truth to it. If you start taking steroids, for example, and you do a 10-week cycle on testosterone, and you put on 10 kilos of pure muscle, right? This is unrealistic, but let's say, just for argument's sake, you put on 10 kilos of pure muscle. At best, you might keep 2 kilograms of that if you come off, and even if you do a PCT, for your first, let's say you keep 2 kilograms of that, right? So you're gonna feel like shit because you've just come off steroids. You're gonna going to the gym isn't gonna feel as good anymore. The pump isn't gonna feel as good anymore, and okay, you've got 2 kilos more muscle, but then what? Are you going to just stop? That's it? You've gained 2 kilos of muscle that you could have gained anyway if you just, been a bit more patient and gone to the gym? No, you're not. You're probably going to take another cycle. Okay, so you do that, same process. This time, maybe you keep 4 kilos of muscle. Okay, so you're getting bigger, and, maybe already you're at the point that you couldn't have got to naturally. But when does it stop? You're never going to stop. If you're getting addicted to that feeling of going to the gym on steroids, which is going to feel better than not being on steroids because you're going to be getting stronger every week, getting bigger every week, it's going to feel good, obviously. So once you've done that a couple times, that's it. You've got the ball rolling. You're not going to stop, are you? You're not going to keep getting bigger, then all of a sudden stop taking steroids, deflate, feel like shit, and then for the rest of your life go to the gym knowing that it's never going to feel as good as it once did, So that's why they say it's never just one cycle, because it's true, it never is. And if you sign yourself up to a lifetime of taking steroids, then everything that I touched on previously with the health is just going to exacerbate. And how many people do you see that are 70 years old and have been taking steroids their whole life? Not a lot, because they all die pretty soon of cardiovascular problems, heart attacks, and heart enlargement, and all of these things. And that continuous use is what's going to do it, because if you're continuously, your heart's a muscle, right? So if you're building and building and building and, getting bigger through your whole life whilst taking steroids, your heart's doing the same. And when the heart gets so big, it's unable to do its job properly and pump blood, because there's not enough space in there, because the muscle's taking all the space. It's hard to describe. I'll put a graphic in if I can find one. But essentially, your heart can't perform if it gets too big. And again, this is just one side effect. You might get a stroke when you're 20. You might not even get to the second cycle because you just drop dead. So, there's no feasible plan to go about taking steroids, And also, once you've done maybe 5 cycles, you might come off and your balls just won't work anymore. Your body will have gone so long without producing its own testosterone that it just doesn't know how to do it anymore. So if you want to have kids or, just function as a human, you're going to need steroids for the rest of your life, and you're going to be forced to expose yourself to all of the risks that I spoke about. So the best solution is to just never start and just be patient and look better than most people by being consistent and actually reap the rewards without looking for some kind of cheat code. And yeah, that's how I want to conclude this video, is just by touching on the fact that steroids look, from an outside point of view, before you really research into how they work, they look like a cheat code. They look like, oh, all I've got to do is inject this and I can look like that. But the reality is that everything in life is a trade-off, and I just don't think the trade-off is worth it. You can look great and you might go many years and have no health problems, but it's going to catch up to you eventually. So it's not a magic bullet. It's not a cheat code, and the reality is that it will likely take years off your life. So yeah, that's what I've got to say on the matter. Subscribe, comment, like, let me know what you thought of the video. Send it to your friends if they're thinking of taking steroids. And yeah, peace out.